Bongi!
Mukwai!
Isamuibala ungafweko.
Nachisambili lechanga loichipya. Mayo.
Eya. Mwamona.
Na juicy.
Ama sweetie.
Zino kwafu abantu okupola.
Elowaya kuchibokoshi.
When it comes to script writing, there's a lot of research that goes into the behind the scenes before creating the scripts. Firstly, when we receive the idea from the client, what they need, we then get into concept development. At the beginning of Parent Pause, we had received teaching guidelines from the client. These teaching guidelines were basically a methodology that different representatives and volunteers use in the communities. Take out the key messages, key points, and these are what we use to create various scenarios. When it comes to the project, we use storytelling to teach our audience how to relate to their children, how to respond to different needs of their children.
The idea behind admin and logistics is more complicated for a production, because there are a lot of moving parts. There is a lot of proofing to ensure everything is running smoothly. It's not just analyzing information, it's also making sure that all the creatives are working together to ensure the deadline is met on time. Much as you are doing an entire production, you are also human beings with personal lives. So in the case of emergencies, the goal is to ensure that communication is as seamless as possible. Because if one person is left behind, everyone's left behind and the entire project is left in jeopardy.
How's it going?
It's going well.
Vaibimba mufyale chito mwana wabo. Natumone fyo.
Akafundisha.
So from receiving the scripts to practicing with other voice actors and reaching studio recordings, it is not an easy process because you have to portray emotions you've never portrayed before. You have to have a certain tone. You have to get into character so much so that there isn't a difference when people see what you are acting as and when people hear it. So it is a very intriguing process, but it does require a lot of work because at the end of the day, the character you may be portraying could be something completely different from who you are.
Intention is one of the most important things when creating a cartoon. Every choice made has a reason. Let's circle back to the start. As a director, I have to think about where the show is going and who it's going to. This affects runtime, the style, and the language. When designing characters, I specifically gave each character a color that represents their personality. Let's take Bongi for example. She's our main character and her colors are red and white. The color of the client is also red and white, but also red sparks an emotion such as being adventurous or hot-headedness or being charming, etc. And we get to see those things in the traits of the character. Since our team is made up of both in-house animators and animators who work on freelance, it's my duty as the director to make sure things are laid out well. Size, proportion of the characters are all in relation to the background. Then draw the key poses of the scene so that the in-between animators can draw the fluid frames or all of it?
Initially, creating the background seemed a bit intimidating to say because backgrounds are something that will be noticed. When creating backgrounds, I have to pay attention to how the colors will affect the characters and the perspective that will affect the balance. Background design is overlooked but is very important because we set the scene for the characters to act.
Animation cleanup is all about precision and accuracy. This is the process where we get the rough sketches and then turn them into the clean, precise lines ready for coloring. And this process usually involves flipping a lot, where you really flip through the drawings constantly to make sure that each drawing is corresponding with its next drawing, and which later creates a whole sequence. When you put them together, it's an animation. It really involves understanding what the director or the rough animators had in mind and refining it to what it should be.
Nomba ani kabapeli vano kwa kapepa lati vapwisho kulemba
Emkoi tata.
Okay, so when it comes to coloring, I thought it's easy because I always colored one frame of an illustration. But then when I hopped onto this project, I found out that coloring isn't as easy as it seems, in such a way that you're constantly coloring multiple frames because it's an animation. So of course you keep coloring and coloring and coloring and coloring just so you give the animation life. Because with color, it helps set the mood, the tone of the animation. It also helps you learn the characters. So
Benny ule longo tuntu tovyo tunga wapwisho kwangala na towaufwa.
Most people don't understand the vital role that sound plays in almost every production, whether it's animation or large-scale film, whatever it is. The first thing you actually engage with scientifically, like as a human being, is the sound of anything. What goes into it is like a lot of time. First of all, goes into it because I spend at least multiple hours on like one episode. I have to establish like where everything sits, the dialogue, the theme song, and just to balance everything out, I mix and master like all the small like sounds, so that like everything should be like cohesive, because it's mainly about having that cohesion. And doing the work has been really fulfilling for me. You know, the Foley, mixing and mastering the voices and getting the music to hit just right. Something that can get you like engaged, and something that like makes you really stick to the screen. That's really what I try to do the most with like the background music. I really try to make something emotional. But like this was more of like a challenge and something that reminded me of my past.
The last process of the animation pipeline is compositing, taking all the elements and putting them together, like characters, final sound, backgrounds, sometimes visual effects. Even small things like the mili meal that Nomsa was pouring and the fire and the smoke are all considered VFX. We wrap it all together with some editing and color grading. Animation as a whole is taken lightly, just like any other job. There's lots of people that play a part in making it happen, sometimes even as the bread and butter. You never know what the end product looks like when the idea is first had, but through various back and forths and reviews, suggestions, opinions, whether it's internally within the studio or whether it's externally with the client, everyone gives their best to ensure that the cartoon is made in such a stunning way that it is so timeless. Because despite of the hurdles we may face during production, we believe in making sure our client understands the value of working with them. To know that the same way there's amazing cartoons out there that are making global shifts. I'll give an example of like Bluey. We can also help them make theirs and make something that's going to impact more of the people in our communities, one step at a time.